Are you thinking of adopting another cat as a companion for your resident cat? It makes sense that you don't want your cat to be lonely, but it's important to remember that cats' social lives are different from those of humans. Cats don't all have the same need for social connection that we do. Individual cats have different levels of sociality. A cat who's social with people may not be equally social with other cats. Just because a cat got along with other cats in the past is no guarantee that they'll get along with a new one. Before choosing another cat to bring home, we first need to consider whether the resident cat would appreciate a companion. If your cat used to have a feline best friend and that cat passed away, your cat may be grieving. It's best to wait for their behavior to return to normal before deciding whether to bring home another cat. Essentially, you're choosing a roommate for your cat. How would you feel if you were assigned a new roommate today and no one bothered to ask if you even want a roommate? While our cats can't verbally tell us, yes, please, or no, thank you, they do have ways that they communicate their preferences through their behavior. Here are some clues to help you figure out if your resident cat would likely appreciate a feline companion. If the cat grew up around other cats and has a history of friendly interactions with other pets, if they are generally more curious than fearful, they're young and healthy, if the new cat is a relative or familiar to them, and if they have compatible personalities and energy levels. Some negative signs include if the cat was raised in isolation, meaning they were raised without other cats, such as a bottle baby, having been an only cat for years, a history of conflict with other pets, having big reactions when they encounter other cats, whether that's their scent or they're seeing unfamiliar cats outside, cats who are easily scared and stressed, cats with medical or behavior issues, a senior cat, 10 and up, because they may be more set in their ways, and cats with incompatible personalities and energy levels. Now, that's not to say that a cat who shows some negative signs can't live peacefully with another cat, but the odds are in your favor if you checked more items on the positive side. If you checked more items on the negative side, you'll want to proceed with caution if you do decide to adopt another cat. Let's say you've determined that your resident cat would probably like a companion, so you've decided to adopt another cat. How do you choose which cat to adopt to have the best chance that your cats will be friends, or at least coexist peacefully? To help us see things more from the cat's perspective, I interviewed some of my family and friends about their experiences with roommates. Tell us about a time you had a bad experience with a roommate.
I wound up with a roommate who was deliberately edgy. She wanted to be provocative. She wanted to break out of her shell and be like that kind of person. And I was not. When someone is looking for a reaction, I find that exhausting. But I also didn't want to be like, let's hang out together, because I thought she was a little scary. And then, as it turned out, her psychiatrist recommended she live alone, and I've huge sigh of relief, and off she went. So I got a room to myself again.
Basically living with the landlord. Very different lifestyle. Was out most weekends and nights, and so slept mostly kind of during the day, but very opposite schedules, which made it difficult. Because they'd be up like vacuuming at 2 a.m, things like that.
No.
So I'd say that individual, yeah, not as considerate. Oh, it's his place, and he just kind of does whatever he wants. Laundry, he'd kind of do laundry and then leave his clothes in there for a few days. So I'd have to kind of finish his laundry in order to do mine sometimes, which is kind of annoying. We could get along. He was a fine person, but different lifestyle, which made it difficult at times.
At that point, I was trying to be really healthy. I was trying to lose some weight. And so I was buying all of these Weight Watcher meals. I was buying Weight Watcher ice cream and trying to fix all of this stuff that was going to be good for me. And they would come home and they would eat my stuff. And then I would be stuck with the pasta and the potatoes and they ate my Weight Watchers ice cream. What's up with that, right? I need a special diet. You should not be eating my food.
One of the roommates in particular, she was so obsessed with saving money. She was totally fine putting up a bunch of Christmas lights, but I couldn't put up my Halloween lights because the electricity would cost too much having the single string of Halloween lights. We couldn't turn on the heat in our apartment in mid-December. We were not allowed to have the heat on. I was timed as to when exactly I could use the bathroom in the morning. And if I went at all over, I heard about it. The worst part of it was that that was the only time I was warm, was like when I was in the shower and I was like, like hot water, like it was freezing in there. I started realizing like, this was affecting my health. I was worrying a lot. I was, having a lot of anxiety attacks. Started affecting my school where it was hard to focus on things. It started affecting, my relationships with other people. My friend who I knew before I moved in, our friendship definitely like died off after that.
I ended up choosing a place to stay with people that were already friends with each other, but that I had never met before in my life. I really didn't know what I was getting into. They were already not that great with each other, and then throwing me into the mix.
Oh no.
Oh, it was a nightmare. Lots of squabbles over, dishes and all the classic things. But yeah, no, it just did not feel like home. I actually kind of got depressed, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. There was a lot of like avoiding each other. I always felt like on the defensive. It was very lonely or tense if people were home.
Rooming with somebody that was a coworker. And that went okay for a while. No, it wasn't big. It wasn't made for two couples. Yeah, everything changed, I mean, it just didn't work well. It made me feel bad because I was friends with this person at one time. It added stress onto my life, which that affects your health.
I've never lived with somebody that I didn't know. It would be awkward, I believe, to get home to a total stranger that you don't know how to talk to, that you might not even have anything in common. It's important to, like just create some sort of connection with that person. But if there's nothing there, you try to force it. And when you try to force something that is just isn't there, it makes it not only awkward, but just difficult to sustain. Because then you're constantly trying. But then it gets to a point where you think, well, why am I trying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would create a lot of anxiety and a lot of tension for me personally.
Tell us about a time you had a good experience with a roommate.
My first experience when I moved to a new city was with two girls, and they'd already been there. They were good friends. They'd already been in the house together. They accepted me. They said, yeah, hey, we'll take you on as a new roommate. So, you have one bedroom and you all share the bathroom, you all share the kitchen, you all do the living room. And so at first it's kind of, you don't know whether you should function outside of your bedroom. You're always like, but I am a little bit outgoing. I like people. My personality can make it a little bit easier to fit into a new environment or to accept someone else in my environment. I had different experiences because of what they liked to do and drawing me in. And it did stretch me out of my comfort zone. So you do eventually come out of your bedroom and engage and go into the kitchen and check out the living room. And really, you don't feel 100% comfortable till you've been there months, to feel like, okay, well, I belong here. This is my space. Then it becomes, all of yours together.
The person I lived with my sophomore, junior, and senior years, we had absolutely nothing in common. Nothing. She's different race, different culture, different music styles, different time of day issues. She does not wake up happy. And I do. So on paper, we're terrible match. But our bids for connection were met in ways that mattered. Like she respected me and didn't try to change me. I respected her and didn't try to change her. We could see the benefits. Like she's terrible with names. She could help me meet people and I could help her know their names.
It was nice to have kind of the same vibe or activity level. So much less stress. It was a really good fit just with our schedules and being able to keep to ourselves when we wanted to, but also meet up or hang out. Kind of moving into a place at the same time with that individual. We'd kind of work out all the details. We kind of set it up together.
Nice.
But then, yeah, the living room and common areas, it's nice to have a roommate that respects that as a common area and not just takes over, like leaving their things everywhere. So we were both kind of on the same page and It's good to lay down those kind of ground rules in the beginning. Yeah, I stuck with that roommate through a couple houses.
I had one when I was an undergrad that was just a random pairing, and he, very nice guy. We got along fairly well. We weren't like best friends or anything, but he was really nice and respectful, and we were able to peacefully coexist. I had another roommate that it worked out really, really well. We got along very well because we were both pretty relaxed about things. And if something was going wrong, we would communicate about it. We're able to respect each other's privacy. Really, just our personalities meshed well together. And we had a lot of fun. It was something that I look back on that as being a very good, positive experience.
We were already friends. Both of our roommates had actually left to live at home. So we were both kind of living alone in our rooms. So she joined my room. Oh my gosh, it was the best scenario ever. She actually ended up being my maid of honor in my wedding.
Wow.
So that I really, really liked rooming with her.
I've known every single one of them. And I don't mean, I was friends necessarily with them beforehand, but at least I knew them. So they weren't total strangers. But then after moving in together, then we became friends. It was great because it helped me not feel lonely. And again, if I want to be alone, I just go to my room.
I need a little bit of quiet. I need a little bit of stillness. And if you're just going to keep running through the room and talking while you do it, I am going to lose my mind. Jack, however, will come in and sit down and read something or do something, and we can happily be quiet together in a room.
My dad is a morning person, and I am if you talk to me before coffee, you will get punched in the face person. I do not want to be conscious at that point in time, and it's hard for me to sleep. So I get very annoyed when I moved back in with my parents. But they had a bigger space, there was more resources. And if I really was like, you're driving me insane, I could get away from them. Whereas I really couldn't do that with my roommate situation. I could go into my room, but I didn't have a ton of space. And if my roommate was in there, then
Basically, you might say my roommate for life is my mother. Mom and we shared the previous house for 35 years. I had the upstairs, she had the downstairs. And in this house, I again have the upstairs and she has the downstairs. My best friend, Kim, I could see sharing a house with her. But we were both very much of we need our quiet time to ourselves. So I think it would be the kind of thing like we'd have a house with 2 master bedrooms, one at each end of the house. And okay, if we're going to be, if we're going to hang out and watch TV together, great. We'd see each other in passing, but when we wanted to be on our own, we'd be on our own.
How does that translate to introducing cats?
Very important to be able to have your own space. I remember a situation where I was in a loft and I felt like I didn't really have my own space.
Yeah,
So
that was
rough.
awkward.
Yeah, no, only a couple walls and
one bathroom.
Yeah, one bathroom.
Yep.
So it's nice to have your own space with a door, especially if you're, introverted and want just some quiet time to, get relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure animals have that sometimes. So I think that's important for people and pets. Just have a nice little spot that they can go to get away if they need to.
Oh, I like people, but I like my space. And I think that's inherent to most beings. I have plenty of room so I don't feel like I have to get into someone else's space to access just the essentials, like the bathroom, the kitchen for food, the bed to sleep on.
Resources matter a lot. Like that is one of the things that is probably the biggest determining factor is availability of resources. And if the cats perceive that there are enough resources, which matters too, and it's why we don't recommend having like all of your litter boxes in a deep dark corner of a basement, is that just seems like one giant litter box to the cats, or it's very easy for them to guard each other.
You have 3 cats and you have 1 litter box and it's in the closet and maybe you only scoop it once a week. Like there's gonna be tension. Or you have 2 cats and you're expecting them to eat out of the same food dish. Like
you shouldn't just expect your cats to intrinsically want to share things. Having a single cat tree is not enough for like 4 cats. You need many cat trees. You need many scratchers. And a lot of people underdo the cat stuff that they have. I hear a lot of people who are like, oh, well, I just threw my cats in the same room as each other and they were fine. Were they though? They sounded pretty stressed based on what you're describing. And there's a lot of stuff that we describe as being normal for cats that I'd argue isn't normal. Like, it's not normal for cats to be constantly fighting. It's not normal for cats to be constantly stressed out by other cats in their home.
In the case of roommates, we have 2 adults with agency who have the option to move out. But when we're thinking about animals, they don't have the option to move out.
If there is another cat around that they don't get along with, they're not going to be able to relax ever. And then we know that in both humans and cats, long-term stress isn't good. Regular, long-term, constant stress has a lot of detrimental effects. It can lead to all sorts of other behavior concerns besides just fighting with the other cats. It can lead to human-directed aggression. It can lead to litter box problems. It can lead to destructive behaviors. It can lead to compulsive behaviors. There's all sorts of things that stress and cats not getting along can cause that end of the day, as you're selecting to have these cats in your home, you owe it to them to care about their well-being and set them up for success.
When you have a pet, your first loyalty is to that one.
It's very threatening for other cats to come into a cat's territory. It's kind of weird to me that we would expect the cats to just get along. I'd start out by asking them, why do they want to add another cat? Your cat may just be bored, and there's other ways to address that without getting another cat.
I think it's good if you want them to have friends, right? Because they might get bored. But just like humans, some people prefer to be surrounded by people 24/7, and others don't. It's just all about personalities.
It isn't something that we should just go into any pairing with the expectation that the cats will like each other. You have to think about the personality of both cats and try to pick one that seems compatible based on personality. And keep in mind that the cats may act differently in different situations. So if they are in a foster home with like 14 cats, the cat's going to act differently than they would in a home with 2 or 3 cats. The environment affects the cat's behavior. And that doesn't mean that it's a good thing because they're not fighting. It just means that the cats are so stressed that they're not going to be acting like their normal selves. And then when you see the cat get out to a better environment where they actually have space to be themselves, they can act totally differently. And they may not like other cats. They might be like, no, I've had enough other cats. There were 87 of them in my last place. I'm done with it. Or they might be like, I didn't like cats in the shelter, but that was a stressful environment. And then you get them into a home and they're like, I can get along with this other cat. Don't read into a cat being labeled as being friendly with cats because that doesn't mean they're friendly with all other cats. I also wouldn't interpret a cat being friendly towards like a different cat in your home or you as being a sign that they're going to get along with all other cats. Even if your cat is friendly and they get along with other cats, you still have to do a correct introduction process because if you have to fix it, like that's going to take way longer than if you just do it correctly the first time. I find that the energy level and the play style component seems to be 2 of the bigger components as to whether or not cats will get along. Don't get a kitten if you have a senior cat. Like, please just, yes, there are some cats that they work out well, and it's hard to be like, well, like 0% of the time it works. More often than not, like you just end up with at least the senior cat is really stressed.
It has often been cats who work together for years and years and years and years, and then one dies. And then we bring another cat or typically kitten in. There's a little bit of like, ew, you. Well, I used to have someone to cuddle with, and now I have you. I used to have peace in the windowsill, and now I have you. I used to have my person's lap, but now you're crawling over their shoulder and diving on me. It isn't a replacement. It can't be.
They tend to have different energy levels, and even if they have similar-ish personalities, think about like an older adult who's kind of fun and like can be somewhat energetic. They still probably don't have the same energy level as a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
You're going to run into that same problem with cats where the kitten is going to have a lot of energy and the senior cat is going to, maybe not enjoy their presence all the time, and you're going to have problems.
Perhaps they're not fully aware of why the other pet doesn't want to play with them or whatnot, but they still get frustration, they still get annoyed, they still get angry, scared.
And then your senior cat, they're going to be stressed for their last portion of their life, which isn't fair to them.
I am a grandparent now, and I have a 3-year-old granddaughter and a 1-year-old grandson, and I love them, and I love to send them home. I'm sitting on the floor, I'm reading the books, I'm having a good time, and also, I do not want that as my 24/7. I lived through that stage. I did that stage. I did that. Not what I'm looking for right now.
I would get an age-matched cat. Like, again, as best you can. It's one of many factors, but it does tend to be a little bit more likely that they will have similar personality or similar energy level, similar play style.
You can get litter mates and have a higher chance of success, but it still isn't guaranteed, especially if they're both young. If you get 2 kittens, they just like 2 siblings, they can grow up together in the same home and they can be thick as thieves when they're kids. But once they reach that level of social maturity, they may or may not still be friends. And if you have enough resources in your home, you can help them to have their own individual space and it can be okay. It's something to think about and keep in mind is that there's those social dynamics that change.
You learn you can't make your kids love each other. Everybody has their own relationship, and your animals do too.
I think it's really hard. Some of it's like your vibe. It's hard to measure objectively. Like you don't see that in an adoption description, like this cat's vibe. It's hard to nail it down. And we wind up choosing animals frequently based by picture. Well, that doesn't tell you anything. That tells you nothing. I think if there would be a way to meet an animal multiple times before deciding, that would be really helpful.
In some cases, it really is the best choice to help the cats find a different home.
Because our goal is to find a good fit for this animal.
Right.
If your house isn't it, to keep an animal in a stressful environment rather than give up, to have the animal stay there for years is not a gift. So when a person is rehoming an animal, if we can say like you cared so much, you tried so hard, and this wasn't the right fit for you or for this animal. And now you're making the really difficult decision to help this animal find a better environment. What a gift you've given.
My cousin, she has several cats. She had to actually give one of her cats back because the anxiety got so bad for that little guy. He just didn't get along with the other ones. And she didn't know what was wrong at first, actually. The anxiety manifested with health issues. And so she took him in several times to try to figure it out. And eventually, when they kind of shut him away from the others, all of those things just...
Wow.
And so she's like, wow, this isn't sustainable, though, with how small our place is, for him to be, kept separate this whole time.
Yeah.
And so they had to give him away, which was very heartbreaking. But at the same time, it's way better now. All of them now are more relaxed.
To have the best chance that your cats will get along, it's important to provide plenty of resources spread out around the house and to try to match compatible personalities. If there's enough room for each cat to have their own space, cats who have a neutral relationship may be able to coexist peacefully. If there aren't enough resources or their personalities are conflicting, it's unlikely that the cats will get along. Keep that in mind when you're adopting another cat. Here are some resources where you can learn more. If you've already adopted a new cat and you're having some trouble integrating them into your home, you may want to work with a professional cat behavior consultant. You can work with me, or you can find another cat behavior consultant using the IAABC or PPG directory. Thanks for watching.